Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Rotation, a Call of Duty League podcast brought to you by Minnesota RØKKR. My name is Ashley, aka MiDNiTE. I'm on with the usual suspects: IKON, Kingdom, ready to talk CDL. Kingdom rolled in. He got the dress shirt on, so I went and threw a little collared shirt on, something too fancy. I didn't, I wanted you to feel, I feel like I'm representing both of your styles. But I got a t-shirt and a collared shirt, so hey. I'm in the middle of you guys. This is pretty crazy. I'm not going to lie. Anyway, I know you guys didn't come here for our wardrobe choices, although we could probably make another podcast about that. But what's up in the chat? We got Yoshi, Dexter, I think I'm saying your name right. Will DuPont's here as usual. Andrew's here as well. Let's freaking go, baby. Shout out to everybody that's watching live on the YouTube. If you're listening after the fact on Spotify or something like that, hello. We appreciate you very much too. But let's talk some CDL, guys. We're actually doing this on a Thursday instead of on a Tuesday. So we actually have a couple of matches that already happened today. And then we also obviously have this weekend to preview. But definitely first want to start with kind of, unpacking last week a little bit. RØKKR had two matches, obviously versus Optic Gaming. Wow. Optic Chicago, kind of sometimes Optic. It's a force of habit, baby. But then we bounced back a little bit against Paris. So I would love to know your guys' thoughts, not only just on the RØKKR match that happened last weekend, but we can start there, just on the first weekend as a whole, and then we can start to talk about any happenings in the community.
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and I'll get us started off here. First thing I guess I'll say is that it was kind of an up and down weekend for Optic. They, came out, looked really good in that match against us. So 3-0 loss. But again, we were doing that co-stream and the hard point was super close. So if there's a positive to take away from a 3-0 loss against Optic, it's that they had no business. Minnesota had no business being in that map 1 Moscow hardpoint. They were able to come back. It came down to one more team gunfight, and had they won that team gunfight, would have ended up getting that map 1, and then it would have extended the series and so on and so forth. And then we can talk about how Minnesota bounced back. We can talk about how Optic didn't bounce back because they had that highly touted matchup against Atlanta on Sunday night, and they got 3-0'd, and it really wasn't all that close at all. I think Formal dropped a 0.6 or a 0.5 or something. He just didn't have a great second match against Atlanta, but that's kind of the story of playing Atlanta FaZe right now. They're the Stage 3 champs for a reason. They're off to a really good start. They're 3-0 so far in this stage. So right now, I think most people would agree that they're number 1 in the power rankings, but when it comes to Minnesota, the second match there, bouncing back against Paris, really, I thought all of the respawns looked pretty good. If you look at the search and destroy, obviously that map 2 against Paris was a 6-1 on raid. I think that kind of took everybody by surprise, even though Paris has been playing much better in S&D. In fact, the match before that against Atlanta, they got smoked in all of the respawns, but they also won that S&D against Atlanta in dominant fashion. So I think right now Paris is just kind of hitting a stride when it comes to search. If they ever can figure out either a control or a hard point or get comfortable in a map or two, you might be able to see them turn things around a little bit. But just from Minnesota's perspective, I think that hardpoint, the map 1 looked pretty good. I thought that was actually, that map 4, thinking back to it, was a 250 to 246 or 247 win. I remember that match being really close, that map 4 to win in 3-1 fashion. And had Minnesota not come back and won that map 4, I was a little bit nervous for that match, because had it went to that map 5 S&D, we were just talking about how good Paris has been in search. So that one was really close. Who knows what ends up happening there if it does go to a map 5. Hopefully the boys would have clutched up. But overall, just the way that the first week went, obviously not the showing that you were looking for against Optic, but Optic is, by all accounts, most people have them as a top 4 squad right now. And when they're on, they're really tough to beat. That was just a really solid match out of them. And then to come back and bounce back in the match against Paris, I think again, if you're looking with the end goal in sight of just trying to make winners bracket out of that Group A, you got to take care of business in the matches where you should win. And we were able to do that against Paris. The second match that's coming up this weekend, I'm sure that we'll talk about it. The matchup on Saturday against Seattle. Seattle did just get 3-0'd today by Atlanta, but they were really close in the hard point and they were really close in the S&D. So again, it just seems like all year the story for Seattle has been the exact same, that they're really close all the time. They just haven't really been able to get over that hurdle. Seems like they're missing one piece here, one piece there. At least they're coming through and they are making roster moves to try to get to that point. They just haven't showed it yet. But I don't know if I'm looking at that matchup. Obviously, it's a matchup that we should win, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as we probably thought it would be a week or so ago when Decimate just left the roster and they brought in Classic and there was some unfamiliarity there with how they were going to play. So again, end goal in mind, just get a win over Seattle to put you at 2-1 in the group. And then from there, most likely the route that you're going to have to take is beating LA Thieves. But I know that's a week or two out from now. But where we're at now in the present, get a win over Seattle, go 2-1, and then see what happens as we move forward here throughout Stage 4.
Icon with the absolute unpack. I loved it. I was following the whole time. I was reminiscing on the matches over the weekend, and definitely, I mean, we'll talk more about RØKKR specifically. But Kingdom, wanted to know your thoughts too, just on the first home series of Stage 4, and now we've kind of already started into the second home series now, our second weekend into Stage 4. So just would love to know like your impressions. What stood out to you last weekend, whether it's for RØKKR or any other team?
I'm going to basically just go through my little points here because, like, to Icon's point, there's a lot that can be discussed, but there's a few things I really do want to point out. I said it last week on the show. I don't know why the league is not yet giving cutoffs, because a couple of these teams, and I'm pretty sure, unless my math is wrong, 4 of them are confirmed for champs right now. So, like, last week, I would say Optics comms were really great in the RØKKR match. Like, the listen-in, they sounded really good. They still aren't going to beat the Faces of the world. They're going to struggle against Toronto and some of these other teams that are at the top. But they're as close as they've ever been, in my opinion, to having the teamwork that it takes to go with their gun skill to be successful. Unfortunately, they really, the 3-0 against the RØKKR was unfortunate, but Optics just came out to play. You mentioned it, Icon, but the RØKKR's S&D map count was 3-12, I believe, this past weekend. And so it's a good thing they didn't get to Game 5, like you said. And I just think that's something to work on. Like, they have the components. We know that. Bringing Major in was not a bad swap. It's just, yes, it adjusted the play style. NYSL moved into second. They're now tied because of today's matches, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. Optic got phased. I wrote that down. It wasn't as fast as their. Well, literally, Formal said last week, all that we want to happen is that we don't want to get wiped by phase like we did last time in like 20 minutes. It's the shortest match of the year, and they got wiped again. But it wasn't as bad. But it was still it was a beating. Like, they got beat, by a better team. Dallas clutched up. Let's go, Dallas. Dallas clutched up against London, and now they got the hot 3-0 today that I'm sure we're going to talk about with Shotzi going on. Everybody just felt like everything was kind of working together today. It just felt like a better team. Sunday was 3 hot 3-0s from Florida, FaZe, and Toronto, and then today we had 2 hot 3-0s. The last 5 Call of Duty matches have all been 3-0s. It's just been like, everything's according to schedule. It never works like this during majors, of course. It's like game 5, game 5, game 5, game 5. But just been really short days of Call of Duty, to be honest. I did have a couple of questions that I'll just throw out. We don't have to answer, but is Toronto still the dominant team they were? And then the second one was, is NYSL beatable in hardpoint? And so to the champs thing, based on last week, if my math is correct, the 9th place team, the most points they can get right now, because theme alert, all of the 4 bottom teams in the CDL are 0-2 right now in Stage 4. It looks like we have our confirmed top 8 for champs, just saying. But for the ninth place team to have the highest they can go is 230 points right now. They can only pick up 80 more with this, and they'd have to win the major, which none of us see happening. But the Gorillas would have to win the major and win the rest of their matches in order to get 80 points. Then they'd have to win all of the matches and the major in the next one, and they get 230, which would put them right there with, I think, right below Toronto. So unless there's some kind of points game that I don't know about where there's extra points for trading rosters or something, the confirmation for champs is the cutoff is 230 points right now, and that's the top 4 teams in our league. They all are above that. So I'm pretty sure they've punched their ticket. You know, they can say publicly, like, we've made champs. Now let's try to get seeding and stuff like that, which is why today's matches are important. Every match Dallas plays that they can try to keep themselves with or above NYSL, it's going to end up coming down to those, like, who's going to be second or third seed at champs. That's going to matter a lot. And so I think everybody's playing for seeding right now. There's still a chance. Not saying there's not a chance, because that would be for them to get into 5th. But of course, the 9th place team could get into 7th or 8th. You know, they just have to have a lot of success. And then my PS for last weekend is that Awakening shot is disgusting, and that guy can shoot. And when you put the right players around him that put him in the right positions, he wins as many gunfights as some of the guys like on FaZe. He's that good, and he has a long career to come in Call of Duty esports. And so, great weekend. I think we're looking at a theme alert with the bottom 4 teams. Everybody's trying so hard to get position and stay in the top 8 that they're just in it's an unfortunate position. Everybody's trying as hard to beat everybody, and the best teams are remaining the best teams.
Yeah, it's definitely that time of year where everything is just turned up. The best teams are trying to outplace the best teams and get that best possible CD for champs, because I believe with the first and maybe even the second, don't quote me on this, okay? I only work for a CDL team. I don't know everything, all right? But I believe if you get at least top 1 or 2, you get a bye.
You probably get 2 round bye,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, 2 round bye, which that's nice.
I
mean, you're already what, top 6 at that point? Top 4? Jeez.
Yeah, you like start.
Yeah,
I bet you first place will start top 6. Like FaZe will probably start top 6 in champs.
Has FaZe already won champs? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I mean that's all really important right now. It's not only playing for the buys, but also the favorable seeding. If you are already top 8, you want to maintain that position. Like RØKKR 7th right
Stay
now?
7th. You do not want to be the 8th place team and play FaZe in the first round if that happens.
No.
Or whoever is going to be the high seed.
Well, it wouldn't be FaZe.
Yeah, it would be maybe NYSL or something like.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the point, is like all of these matches are so tough and evenly matched, but at the same time, you're right in saying that, you know, some of these are starting to look a little predictable now. Like I think I predicted LAG to win today, number 1, because I'm trying to catch up in some prediction points. But number 2, because like, you know, Dallas traditionally goes to map 5. LAG traditionally goes to map 5. And sometimes like, hey man, you just pull a fast one on an old Empire and boom, you got the dub. But that is not at all what happened. Empire's starting to look, you know, much more like their former selves. Really dominant, really fundamental. Shotzi from Will DuPont says Shotzi looked good. Yeah, Shotzi's like, he's their key. He's their X factor. You never want to have to put it all on one person because it's most definitely a team game. But wow, when he is playing well, Dallas is just, they're going off on the main stage. Which brings me to my next point. I think there's a lot of like, also, the seeding for champs is really important. But I think there's a lot of, I don't know if it's ego or just like, everyone's looking forward to LAN, right? Like this is where like we're like everyone can stop talking ish all the time now about, oh well, my ping to this server, and then this team's from this area. No, dude, we're all gonna be on LAN. Stage 4 majors, stage 5 majors. I'm not sure about champs. I don't know the freaking rules, but it's gonna be sick, right? Like you would assume that it would be, right? You would assume if the last 2 stages are gonna be. So I'm really excited to just see like. This is my favorite time of year. I do think all the matches throughout the year obviously matter because it all adds up. Like all these points are adding up. But you're really starting to see like the landscape where teams are probably going to end up or where they're likely to end up as long as they keep powering. And those teams, the bottom 4 who are like fighting for their lives, really like it's tough to watch when
rough,
you see them make changes. You know they're trying to operate and do their best, and it's just not clicking. Something's not working there. But with that, speaking of changes and clicking and trying to make sure that you're making champs, RØKKR obviously swaps out accuracy for MajorManiak. He came in last week, played versus Optic, played versus Paris. I thought he looked pretty good. Like, I think like it was really interesting. You know, IKON and I talked about it on the co-stream a little bit. You know, I expected him to come in and just our search and destroy is going to be better, automatically better with MajorManiak on the team. It's obviously not what happened. We were getting smoked in search. And I think like, you know, I don't know. I'm not the coach. All right. That would be cool though. Like if I just like be the third coach for a day, that'd be kind of dope. Don't listen to me. But anyway, like him coming in, and I think what may have, the only thing I could theorize why the S&D lacked so much right away when you think, oh, MajorManiak's such a strong search player, he's going to change everything. You can't really change everything in that short amount of time. And I don't know this, but I would assume that a lot of the time was spent, you know, emphasizing and getting MajorManiak back in the lineup and making sure that we're solid in respawns, because that's where that main AR role is going to kind of feel the most heard, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, you want to make sure your respawns on point together as a team. So I'm wondering if there was just so much emphasis put into respawns that, you know, Search and Destroy was looking a little lax, because, you know, we started the year being pretty miserable at hardpoint, being great at Search. It's kind of flipped now. Definitely good at Control. I'd say it's our best mode. Pretty, you know, dicey on hardpoint, and then Search lately has just been, it's bad. It's bad. Are we still the worst hardpoint team in the year? It's been tough. So I could see why they would maybe emphasize that, right? Like I could see why they'd be emphasizing that. So to me, though, I thought MajorManiak did a great job. Obviously, the Search and Destroys were rough to watch just fundamentally. But, you know, some of those hard points that they were able to pull, like that does give you that type of confidence. And if you can keep fixing those hard points, stay pretty decent in Control like you are. And then if you're able to, with the, you know, the amount of time and the improvement that MajorManiak and the team can have together in Search, I'd be really excited to see like where they're able to evolve to next, and how are we going to make sure that this team's firing on all cylinders in all game modes at the end of the year. I'm really excited to see that. And I guess I would just want to know, like, what are your guys' thoughts on MajorManiak coming back in? How did he look? Am I lost in the sauce by saying maybe they didn't focus Search very much? Or I know like IKON, we talked about it a little bit on the co-stream of the match itself, but would love to hear from both of you on like, is MajorManiak even playing the main AR role? It was really interesting to watch like where he was playing and kind of how he was playing on the map.
Yeah, so I'll go here first, I guess. The first thing is that SND obviously didn't look great, but I think it's a combination of not truly being super comfortable with where everybody's on the map. That's a mode where, you know, you have 1,000 different strats, and to be able to counter what your enemy is doing, you have to know each of those strats. And it might just be a point of Paris is playing pretty filthy right now on SND and haven't had a ton of time to really gel with all of those different strats. But what I will say is, in that matchup with Paris, Mike was the best player statistically in that matchup, especially when it came to the respawns. Like that very first hard point on Garrison where we won 250 to 129, he was 19 and 13. I know it's not crazy. I mean, it was a quick match, but that equals out to a 1.46. You look at the Control, and for me, that's what was most impressive. He dropped 33 in the Control, had a 1.43 in that matchup also. But the things that he did, and we talked about it a lot on the co-stream, is one, like you mentioned, it was hard to distinguish who was really like sitting back, holding down lanes and playing that main AR role. And there were many times, again, that match was on Raid, where he'd be mid-map, he'd get a kill or two, and rather than say, okay, you know what, we're on defense, I'm going to rotate back to Tiki and watch over this bomb, or go back to cutout by money window or something like that, you would see him get those kills and then push forward, and he'd immediately be setting up spawn traps, whereas most of the time, really what you see from a main AR is, like I said, getting those kills and then retreating back. You know that area of the map is open, so allowing your standees, your attach, or on different teams like your envoys, your abeezes, your sims to go through, fill those roles, and put that pressure on. So it was kind of refreshing to see him get kills in really crucial and critical areas of the map, and then not just settle there and kind of be timid and wait to play, to push forward. And that's kind of what he was used to playing like in Black Ops 4. I know last year he was on that team with Atlanta FaZe when you had the Simp and the Abizi and the Priesta and those guys running around and just doing crazy stuff all over the map in MW. But before that, he really did play more of like an aggressive flex manner in a way. So that's kind of what I saw in that matchup from Paris, is just he was willing to push forward, apply pressure, get in areas where you don't really expect a main AR to be. And I think in the end, it gave an added nice little niche that we weren't really familiar with seeing RØKKR do before. So it looked good so far. When it came to the respawns, I think SNDs and stuff like that I think it'll get ironed out as time goes on. But so far, so good. And I will also just add here at the end that coming into Saturday's matchup, it is super important to get that W, because if you end up losing to Seattle, now all of a sudden you probably have to beat Atlanta and LA Thieves to get in the winner's bracket, and that's really tough to do. So this matchup on Saturday against Seattle, it's not only, you know, like important in terms of where they're going to end up probably winding up in the stage, but also Octane is really the only person from Seattle that has been consistently slaying at a really high level. So that matchup there against Octane is also going to be super important. If he can win that battle, that just relieves a lot of pressure on the map. It's going to allow, you know, the standees and the attaches of the world to push forward and do the things that they do really well on the map. So far, so good. Hopefully we see, you know, some continuing improvement when it comes to S&D, but in the respawns, they've looked pretty good so far.
Yeah, I think the Minnesota RØKKR came up against, I mean, just for lack of, you know, better words, a better team on that day when they ran into Optic. I think Optic Chicago is starting to hit a little bit of a stride, which they need. They have not placed anywhere near how they've wanted to place in any of the, you know, events we've had. And going to LAN, to your point, MiDNiTE with the bragging rights thing, they're really they're focused up. Minnesota RØKKR, on the other hand, were feeling themselves out, you know, in a way, like, because this game changes in so many different ways. You can change somebody's position. A lot of teams are playing, there isn't really a main AR. There's, you know, a flex AR and an AR, you know, and it's kind of like, but either one of them can pick up a sub and fry if they need to in the middle of the match, like grab one off the ground and hit a position, you know. I think that what I'm seeing, if you look at the top teams, ARs that are able to not only control the map but lead the team seem to be the most effective. And I think with this squad, with Minnesota, they're going to benefit from time together. Like, just like that's what's happened with Optic, and that's what's happened with FaZe, and that's what's happened with Dallas, even though they dropped one of their key pieces. Like, I agree with some of the sentiment out there that said the best Dallas can be is back like they were with Hook. But imagine if they were at that level and Hook was willing to play in the system. They'd be one of the scariest teams in the league right now. And it's just, it wasn't in the cards. And so, but if Vivid can pick up those same kills but play within the system that Dallas wants to play in, they can get some wins. And I think Minnesota RØKKR are famous for having a system since day one. You know, it was always, we're going to have a coach and we're going to have an assistant coach and we have a staff, and our players know that we expect a certain amount of professionalism, and we do content, and we play the game right. And that has just always been a part of the Minnesota RØKKR culture, is we play Call of Duty the way it's supposed to be played. It'll be challenging if you try to come into this system and play like it's not supposed to be played. And so I think Minnesota RØKKR in like a lot of teams, in a great position. The challenge for the team is when you run into the phases, the Optics, the New Yorks, the Torontos, and maybe even the Dallases, how do you get that leg up? You know, and I think it's with consistency, playing together, learning those modes. You know, they're not at the point where FaZe is now, where FaZe is like, well, we're just going to play maps we're not good at on purpose, so that you guys have no vetoes, nothing will work. We can beat you on any map, any mode. We're going to be the best in everything. And even if we lose a map in a series, we're so confident in our abilities as a team because we've played together all year. We're so confident in each other at this point And for that team to be hitting their stride is scary. I think for Minnesota, sticking it out, working with the roster, figuring out the roles, and really focusing on the teamwork aspect above everything else, the natural skill isn't going to like get better. It's like these guys are all good already. It's just really how do we play together best to get the best result. I think Minnesota can easily be one of the top teams, but it's getting those just repetitions in, making sure that you also play your butt off so that you feel a little safer about your champs opportunity. But it's not looking good for the bottom 4 teams to catch anybody in the top 8 right now. And so Minnesota can continue to play and maybe play a search that they're not the best at, but they're not in a position where they can do that right now. And so I would say Minnesota's in a good position. I like MajorManiak on the squad. It's so hard, to be honest. It's like they looked so good when accuracy was there with those first couple of games with Standy. And, now it's like they looked okay when MajorManiak came in and, because they played Optic like they did back when Standy came on and they, beat Optic. And so, but I think this team has the ice. I think Major helps with that. If they can get their search just in rhythm, then they can close out maps and pick up some rounds and beat some of the top teams, which is going to be a must to have a good placing at champs. I think Minnesota definitely will make champs, but to get a good placing, the team is just going to have to continue to work on the teamwork piece, in my opinion. And this roster is highly capable of doing that.
In classic Minnesota sports fashion, we've got a team that will make the playoffs. And we're kind of hoping that they just get hot at the right time. And I do think it's possible. If you're looking at the roster,
right.
I wouldn't say statistically, but rankings-wise, I think the roster has underperformed to expectations so far. Kingdom, you brought that up very nicely, that there is a lot of expectations, from the fans, the organization, the coaches, the players themselves have the highest. So if you think you have high expectations for the roster, imagine being that guy who's playing every day in, day out, hours, trying to make it happen. We know that these players have the talent to take it to the next level. It's just going to be about whether they can put that together, and really kind of finish the year off nicely, get as high up in the rankings as you can, or standings. Shout out to Standy for upping our standings. And then trying to just get as high, or win as much as you can at champs, making sure that you're in good position there. I think that's going to be just really key for this team. We've seen other teams kind of do sort of similar things, like Toronto, for example. They were just a freaking revolving door of players coming in and off their starting roster. And it was an interesting combination of folks that finally kind of ended up catching some fire. And then they benched Methods. I'm still pissed about it, even though Insight's amazing.
It was one of the best moves of the year, though, if you think about it.
For real, it was one of the best moves. Shout out Methods, though. Still no Zinni, no Winnie, even though they did Winnie. It's okay. But yeah, so you get Insight in there, and they had that one player that kind of changes everything for them. Well, I should say changes everything, because it really was like a slow kind of burn to get to that good spot. Yep. Let's not forget, they won a home series last year. Toronto did. It was around this time of year, I think. So I think it's still possible for RØKKR to get hot here at the end of the year, and let's start making some shit happen, boys. But I
feel it.
I just say, man, you got to go ahead with your best foot forward, get the most amount of wins as you can. We do only play once this week, so usually you play twice per week. But obviously, there's only 5 other teams in the pool or the group, so we're only gonna have one match this weekend. It's against Seattle. I don't want to say I expect us to win it, but if you're looking at this group and you're looking at how you want to slot into the bracket at the LAN, Major 4 on LAN, you want to put yourself in the best position on LAN, you got to win this Seattle match, baby. So, man, I don't know. Can we talk a little, should we preview the RØKKR Seattle match a little bit and then do predictions?
Yeah, honestly, to that match specifically, I think the Minnesota RØKKR should win that. That should be something that the team can say. I honestly, it like to where you say not meeting expectations or whatever. This should be a team that when they're going up against any of those bottom 4 teams, we're confident they're going to win. That's the roster they have. That's the organization that the RØKKR has. I just wholeheartedly will continue to pick them to beat these teams. Even if they sometimes catch an L, I'm going to continuously be like, oh yeah, RØKKR is going to beat Seattle. I wouldn't pick Seattle over the Minnesota RØKKR in that regard. Like, I understood even all the people, every person that was on the flank last week picked lag over Dallas today. And I
did too.
I understood it. I was like, I can't really hate on that because you don't know. Dallas is almost becoming Florida, where it's like you don't know what you're going to get from day to day. But we do know the reliable Crim Six, and I think that's where somehow magically something happened in the stars where IKON has come over to the dark side of trusting Crim Six's abilities. I never thought I'd see, like, IKON was already had a hard time picking Dallas. When they lost Hook, I was like, he's never going to pick them for the rest of the year.
I like
so
this roster. I like where it's at.
Yeah, they're doing all right. And IKON still beat us in points again today in production, so god dang it.
But anyway, to the match between Seattle and the Minnesota RØKKR, I fully expect, whenever we do predictions, I fully expect the RØKKR to win that match. And I think they need it, and they need it to be just like beating Paris, like 3-1 or something like that. Like, it needs to be a match that where they continue to believe there are teams in this league that we are better than, and we can get our good reps in against those teams. And then there are teams in this league that are better than us right now, and when we go up against them, we need to even step an inch farther. I mean, of course, every match right now, I'm not saying you give it less, but pro players, if the cameras were off, would admit there's a difference in certain matches. You go a little bit harder against certain teams because of their abilities. You want to get the best practice possible before going to LAN and before going to champs. And so I think right now, Minnesota should win that match. 3-1.
Yeah.
He just slammed into the prediction. Let's go.
Right? He's way early with this one. So a couple things real quick. I do want to touch on the whole Dallas situation and kind of where they're at. They did play really well today. They played phenomenal, but I think that in that match, they have a player or two that's capable of just completely going off and winning a series. And I think that's what you saw today from Shotzzy. It wasn't necessarily a scenario where, everybody was right around like a 1.0 KD. Everybody was playing, decent or whatever. This was a match where Shotzzy came out and he put the team on his back. Like, if you go through and you look at the other KDs, like Illy had a 0.79, Vivid had a 0.95, and Vivid's KD is good because, he's playing that super fast role. He's playing entry, stuff like that. He's not going to win all of those gun battles like an Abizi does. He's the best in the world at it. But I just felt like I think that if you're looking at Dallas and you're comparing them to like the bottom 4 teams or so, I think that they should win those matchups consistently every single time. I think when you put them with anybody that's certainly in the top 4, but in that middle tier of teams, I think that's where things can get dicey, because is Shotzzy going to be able to go off and just absolutely win a series basically on his own when you have, really good players on the other side? Like, if he's trying to be super aggressive and play really well in a matchup with Minnesota, I think Standy and Attach might have something to say about it. So that's just kind of my overall thought on Dallas. I expect them to win matches against those lower teams, but teams that are in the middle, I still want to see them get back to proving themselves like they were before. Now, the matchup between Minnesota and Seattle, I think there's a couple things there. I think that Minnesota clearly has an advantage. Their biggest advantage coming into this matchup is at the SMG position. I think that Standy and Attach basically throughout the entirety of the year have been the more consistent duo, have been the duo that makes the greatest impact around the map. I think those two are really setting the pace and setting the tone for Minnesota in the majority of their matches. But with that said, I don't necessarily know if that's the most important matchup, because right now, like in the matchup today against Atlanta, Seattle was really carried by Gunless and Octane. And I think in this matchup, you really can't let those two take over and just win a match or win maps. Like the SND against Atlanta today went to round 11. And of course, actually, I believe it was like 5-4. Seattle was up 5-4, and then they lost 2 rounds in a row.
They were up 5-3 and lost 3 rounds in a row.
Okay, so that makes it even worse.
The
But
tilt.
but yeah, right. But that kind of also speaks to Atlanta's just insane ability to just clutch up and win maps when nobody else can really do that. It seems like when those guys get into a rut and get into a hole, they just have that LeBron, Tom Brady ability to just go off and come back and just win maps. So, but with that said, again, if you're looking at that SND, it's an SND where, you know, they looked really good against one of the top SND teams in the league. So again, if I'm kind of looking at that match as a whole, I think map 1 is super important. You definitely can't come out and go 0-1 because they're playing really well in SND, and that's just an area where Gunless and Octane can pop off and win a map on their own. So got to come out, got to win the hard point. And then if you lose the search, it's not all that big of a deal. Very similar to what we saw against Paris, where they won the hard point, got smoked in the search. And then when it came to respawns, we were just too much for Paris, just as the same as I think will probably be too much for Seattle. So SMGs lead the way. ARs and Flex, do what you can to just play at the same level as Gunless, as Octane, which I think they're more than capable of. I'll be really interested to see if Mike can continue playing with that pace, especially in, you know, the respawns, or if that gets countered a little bit by what Gunless and Octane do around the map. But yeah, overall, I think it's absolutely a match that Minnesota should win, and it should put us in good position going 2-1. Just got to find one more victory somewhere in this group play to get you into winner's bracket.
Knock on wood, man. Yeah, it's if there's a time to come out and perform, it's right now when you I wouldn't call it a gimme match by any means, but if you're looking at the group as a whole, this is one that if you want to get into the upper bracket for LAN, you have to win this one. This is one you got to take it. You got to bring it to them. You got to come correct. And I think the guys will. I mean, we'll see. But I'm excited to see the matchup. Tanuja in the chat. Shout out to the chat. By the way, I don't know if Lando's still here, but big shout out to Lando. Shout out to everybody tuning in. I love seeing an active chat. Love that you guys came hang out with us tonight on the rotation. But yeah, I mean, first game is key. Cannot let Seattle get momentum. I think that's super important. I think, I don't know. I'd be really interested to hear, if there's some sort of, esports psychologist, the psychology behind going down 0-1, the psychology behind, their map picks versus your map picks, and if you lose your map pick, do you tilt? I'd love to really just understand, the tilt factor. But I do think, with RØKKR now, I don't think there's a lot of that tilt factor. They've been put into some situations where they're pressed, and they've been able to fight back out. So, I mean, we go back all the way kind of to the beginning point. I do think that this team has the capability to play better and place better than they have previously with this roster. I think we all acknowledge that the roster has a lot of promise, a lot of upside, but it's time to really start putting those things together. So I don't know. I'll be really excited to see how it goes. I'm trying to think. There's really no other major CDL news that happened. I mean, yeah, Optic getting whooped by FaZe was a big deal. I was not expecting that. I was hoping for a much better match. But I think, the Greenwall dudes are not the Greenwall dudes. Greenwalls are the fans, but the Optic guys, they're gonna come back.
So we didn't talk about Hook. We never got to talk about that whole him not being on the roster anymore. No, because we didn't have a show on Tuesday.
Last episode.
We talked about him. We talked about him being benched by LA on the last show last week.
I think
last
so.
Tuesday.
I think because we were what the hell? Yeah, I did. I remember talking about because I was I'm actually really worried for him, if he's okay, because that's got to be a tough thing to go through. You get benched by Dallas, and then
LA benches you and wins, and that's it's tough scenes.
I'll be interested to know. I mean, we could talk about it more. I'd mostly be interested to try to understand his perspective. I think he said he might be coming out with a video. Okay, yeah, producer Shannon, aka Inez Beverly. I'm sorry if I'm saying the first name wrong. I'm so sorry. But we talked about it last show. We did. So
okay, good.
But I guess I don't know if there's been any development. But I was wondering. I think he mentioned Hook that he was going to come out with a video, kind of sharing his side of things, or I don't know. That could be real dicey if he decides to do that, depending on how that goes. Because fans will always pick a side.
I think maybe the video that Nadeshot and JCap came out with hadn't dropped when we did our show, where they talked about dropping Hook. I don't think that part had
True.
happened. Where
Nah.
they came out
Or
with the
that
video
like really awkward
giving the
interview they did.
reasons. Well, yeah, and they said that he just didn't play within the system, like Mud Dog, and like they talked about that he didn't play within the system, and it was that they're going to keep him, of course, because he's Hook, and there's another title coming out in 4 or 5 months, and you don't give that chip away, like, because in the next game a free
That's a
flowing
lot of money to pay for him to not play, though. For
I
having to, they're gonna have to continue paying him while he's not playing, which is
and Slasher, like they've got
shout out
they
on
got
the team.
Slasher
Shout out
and
all the
Hook on the
sponsors.
bench. Like, what squad has those two players chilling? Like, if I'm
They could have a second team that's pretty good.
Optic Nation Part 2, yeah. That was the scenes when they had 2 teams in the league. But I think, like, I guess FaZe had 2 also, because they had that FaZe Black team with Proofy. But I honestly like the Hook situation. I only wanted to mention it because, yes, I hope greatness for that guy. But again, times are changing. This is a different league. It's going to look different next year. There's going to be some people hanging up their banners. I saw Zuma on the flank almost cry when he was talking about how hard it was to step away from the sticks, and the way Methods had talked about it. The one thing I'll say is that Hook seems like a player who is okay not playing right now. And it's like, he's like, the system that this game requires doesn't fit him. And he knows that. And the top 4 teams, you have to play in a system to be successful there. And that does include Dallas. And that the LA Thieves are going to treat their team like they're a top 4 team. And so are the Minnesota RØKKR. And so many teams now are like, teamwork, system, we need it. Like, every team needs all these different components. You got to have somebody calling out. You got to have somebody that's focused on small talk. You got to have somebody that when search and destroy goes crazy, they say something. Because you talked about the tilt factor, MiDNiTE. Like, that, the 2 S&Ds we watched today, there was tilting going on. When you're up 5-3 on FaZe and you lose, you just chalked the series. Like, has anybody reverse swept them this year? I'm sure not. They've only had 4 losses. And so and then the other one, same thing. Who played Dallas today? Gorillas.
LAG.
They were up on Dallas 3-1, and then Dallas won 5 rounds in a row. Like, it's like that's tilt worthy. Like, you are frustrated when you go up on a team that you lost first map to, and then lose 5 rounds in a row after going up 3-1. Like, and so I think that, yes, Minnesota's got to put their S&D prowess together. And I think that teams are now like, tilt factor we got to get rid of. We don't want that on our teams. If you cause tilting like a Slasher, maybe, if you cause other players to lose their mood, and, because Bance can meditate all he wants. If someone like Slasher's yelling at him and mad, it's going to break his whole, rhythm. And so I think so much matters these days, and Hook just isn't. He just doesn't fit right now, and it's unfortunate because he is a phenomenal Call of Duty player, and it's
so talented.
Yeah,
I'll be excited to see kind of just. I think the LA Thieves story is pretty fascinating this year. I think they've underperformed their expectations and what a lot of other folks. I mean, yeah, you've got Slasher and Hook on the bench. Like, things have not been awesome for them, but I will say they did look really better. I mean, it sounded like I did watch that interview where they're, it sounded like they kind of like benching TJ for a sec, like really made him grind more and really kind of activate him a little bit more. And then he came out. I mean, he's just a fry guy, right? Like, TJ Halley's going to do his thing. So I don't know. I think LA Thieves still in really good position this year. I kind of look at them almost the same way as I do RØKKR. They've got the pieces there, but can they get it put together and get hot at the end of the year? That remains to be seen. So, I'm excited. Man, I love CDL. I love talking about every week with you guys. Let's rock through some predictions now. I know we obviously we didn't get to publicly predict ahead of the matches today, although we did do our predictions. And shout out Shannon. She put out the our predictions results on the RØKKR Twitter. So if you guys will follow the RØKKR Twitter, you should definitely follow that already. We're doing great tweets, content, all that cool stuff. But yeah, you can gotta keep track of who's. Wait, how many points did we end up spotting me, Shannon? How many
90.
points? Okay,
I think it was 90. We gave you 90 points.
Listen, during the beginning of the year, All right, I missed predictions on like Super Week or some massive. It might even have been more than Super Week. I missed a massive amount of predictions because I was super sick and just not in the mood to like think about anything but living. And so I didn't predict for a while. That's why I'm so far behind in the standings. I would for sure be winning, for sure, positively. Sorry, I'm just trying to troll the guys because they're on Screw It Out. I would be like at least hanging though if I had predicted that week. So, you know, I appealed to the generosity of IKON Kingdom and producer Shannon, and you know they flopped me some points just to keep it interesting going down the stretch here. So thank you for that. I appreciate you guys. So that makes these predictions. I mean, I've been trying to catch up, but yes. Okay, there we go, Shannon. I explained the points for you. Let's go. All right. Wait, how many points? What? Let's look at the point system right now. Actually, can we look at that? I'm gonna see where are we actually at right now. So. Total points for the year on predictions. Oh my God, I passed Kingdom? I'm so sorry. I can't believe you voted yes. So Icon's got 580. MiDNiTE, that's me, got 540. Oh my God, I could win. What? I didn't realize I would catch up that much. Thank you so much. Y'all. And then Kingdom's not far behind though. He's got 495. Like, I think these points are still like one good or bad weekend away from just swinging. Like, Kingdom could catch up. I could overtake. IKON could make his lead even wider. You never freaking know. Yeah, you're up by like a solid 40 points. You're probably feeling pretty good, but hey, right now we're about to come back. Let's do this. Okay. So obviously the matches today already happened. I think we all
we were all right.
Yeah, we were all right except for me. So I went because I'm so desperately trying to get points back. I actually did predict LAG to upset Dallas 3-2. That did not end up happening. I just thought, hey man, sometimes Dallas goes to game 5 a lot. Sometimes LAG goes to game 5 a lot. You never know what could happen. I was mostly just trying to secure points. But I think I feel confident now. Like I'm in the running enough that I don't have to just swing for the fences every time. Let's freaking go. All right, so today's the 3rd. So tomorrow, Friday, June 4th, we've got the LA Thieves versus Paris Legion. Whew. Honestly, I like how Thieves looked in the last match. I think they're gonna take Paris. I think Paris is they're having a real tough time, man. Like they've looked better. Like even RØKKR when we beat them last week. Like Paris looked better in the match before that they'd played, and they looked decently competitive against RØKKR, but still just having a tough time. So I think LA Thieves gonna take Paris 3-1 is my prediction. Who do you guys got and what's the map count?
Yeah, I'll go. So every time I think of this Paris squad at the moment, I always think what's their path to victory, and it's obviously to win both S&Ds because that's really the only mode that they've been performing well at. And then they have to try to steal one of the respawns, and they've gotten close. That respawn against us was 250 to 247, that map 4. I know we touched on it earlier. They were within like 20 points or so of taking a respawn off of Atlanta. So they are getting closer. But when you look at their path to victory, you have to win both the S&Ds. And when you look at LA Thieves, that's also their strong suit right now. In their last matchup, they won both the S&Ds against Seattle. And they also, the match before that, even took an S&D off of Toronto. And that's super tough to do because Toronto has just been lights out for, ever since stage 2. So I just, when I try to envision, like, how is this match going to go? How is Paris going to get a victory? I'm just not sure that they're even going to be able to get wins in the mode that they're best at. So I'm going to go LA Thieves here. I do think that it's probably closer than what a lot of people would suggest. I think it'll go map 5. I'll go 3-2 LA Thieves.
Wow. I'm going to say...
I wasn't expecting that after all that. That was awesome.
I'm going to say 3-1 LA Thieves. In my opinion, they're the better team. The challenge that the Legion have had all year long, unfortunately, even though they have a good coach, is their philosophy of not having a real leader on the team. I said it after stage 1. It just doesn't work in my opinion. And so I just don't think it works in this league right now. I don't think it works in this game. Like, oh, everybody can lead, everybody steps up. And it's like the things they say that they're not good at is when it gets mixy, they mix things up and they don't play right. It's like, well, somebody, even Simp, while being interviewed, and they're like, so who called that play? And he's like, probably Alec. I mean, he does most of the play calling. Like he's the leader of the team, and it's clear, even though he's playing with maybe 4 of the top 6 players in the game right now on his roster. It's like and they still respect Alec and do what he says in search and they have the talent to do what they want. They could be Hook. I'm just going to run off and do whatever I want. But even a Beezy is calculated and is running around and flanking and all that.
Beezy's a freak, dude.
Yeah,
and
so
pace.
Thieves have a system. They have dropped world-class talent and players that are amazing because they want the system to work, and so I think they're going to win. And I'll give Paris a map though, 3-1.
Nice, great minds, man. New York Subliners versus Florida Mutineers. I mean, these are 2 teams, more so Florida, but you just kind of never really know what you're gonna get. I mean, sometimes Florida comes out. I think we said it earlier, like Big Wake just wasn't missing, and he looks so good. The ARs on that team play so well. And it's hard to like predict when they're going to be hot, when they're going to be not. New York Subliners too. I mean, they've definitely looked less streaky now that they've got Hydra on board, but still, sometimes they lose. Still, I don't know who to predict here. I think I'm gonna let you guys predict first. All right, so New York Subliners versus Florida Mutineers. We could start with Kingdom, I guess. We'll go first.
3-2. Florida is frying right now. They're doing a great job. They've found their stride, but New York hasn't lost their stride. They're still, over the last, month, 2 months, they're the best hardpoint team in the game. They're disgusting.
Freakish.
Asim has been playing good all year. Clayster has been playing good all year. Hydra is some weird phenom that, is playing amazing. And the way they communicate, where they all over-communicate and they let Hydra just under-communicate, but he does his job. Like, it just works. It's a great system. I think that they're going to win this. It'll be close though, and so I'm going to say 3-2 New York over Florida.
Is this worthy of upset potential?
Not in my opinion. I'll let you guys rock with it. Well, Florida's 2-0 right now, and they're leading their group. Like, they're in 8th place, but they're power rankings wise, I wouldn't. They're doing really good right now. They're playing well.
It's 2 versus 8 though, dude. Like, it's 2 versus. I don't know. They are 2-0 in the group though. Like, they've been. Who did they beat? They beat.
Toronto
and
London.
Okay.
And they looked good doing it. Like, to be honest. So,
and it's the home series.
I'll let you guys call it.
Gives them a little bit extra juice.
I'll let you guys call it.
Producer Shannon's the ref, so we'll let her decide if that's an upset. It could. I don't know. It could be.
All right.
Maybe I don't know.
Regardless, I'm hoping I get some upset points here because I'm going to go Florida. I think with what they've been doing as of late, first of all, with New York, the only team that we've seen them play this stage has been LAG. They did lose to SND, but we have seen as of late what Florida has been doing with the Map 5 victory over Toronto. And let's not just kind of look over that 3-0 against London, because London is a squad that has been looking much better than where they were, throughout stage 2 and the beginning of stage 3 and stuff like that. So right now, I just feel like they are a squad where, like, if you look at power rankings, you probably have the top 3, Atlanta, New York, Toronto, and then who's there at 4? Is it Optic? Is it
RØKKR,
Florida?
For sure,
is it?
Sorry.
Yeah, right.
Biased.
I don't know. If I'm looking at this, I just think Florida is super hot right now. I think that they're playing extremely well. I don't know what gets into them. They're, like you mentioned earlier, they're just one of those squads where they're always going to have nasty play from their ARs. It's just, what are they going to get from Neptune? One day Neptune can look like a top 5 player in the league. I mean, he runs around, he's flying, playing with aggression and pace and getting kills, very similar to what a BZ does. And then there are matches where they just don't really play all that great. But it'll be tougher for their SMGs in this one, obviously, because Hydra is on the other side of the ball. So the respawns are going to be tough. But I think if it goes to a map 5, which I do think it will, I just have a ton of confidence right now in Skies and Awakening, and I think they get it done. So whether I get upset points or not, we'll let that be decided. But I'm going Florida 3-2.
You guys made really good points. Also, I laughed when, not only did I laugh at Kingdom Soldier in the chat saying, let me log, because chat in the chat trying to decide if this is an upset. So, I don't know, chat, what do you think? Kingdom says, let me go log in with my other account, saying no. And then he typed LOL, when we could clearly see he did not laugh out loud.
Yeah,
Just
right.
amazing content. So yeah, New York versus Florida, you guys both make really good points. Really good points. And we're all saying that subliners looking a little streaky, but definitely on the up lately, especially since having Hydra. Florida looking pretty streaky from time to time. And as I've seen, I'm just gonna go off of like just vibes, statistics. When Florida goes up, they're gonna come down. All right, they're
That's
streaky,
right.
they're hot, they're not. They've been hot. It's time to be not. I got subliners 3-1. Subliners will take each respawn and take it to the house at their home series. Oh, tragic. All right, so going on to Saturday here, guys. Let's burn. We spent a solid 15 minutes on 2 predictions. Just shout out to us, man. Let's go. Let's try to burn through the rest of these here. Saturday, June 5th, Toronto Ultra versus London Royal Ravens. I mean, to your point, Icon, and I think even Kingdom said this too, like, London's been looking really good lately. And Toronto, you know, they've taken an L, unpredictably taken an L this stage so far. So I think Toronto's going to come out. You know, London, try as they might, they've looked much improved, but I don't know it's going to be enough to beat Toronto. So I'm going to go Toronto Ultra 3-0, man. Fuck it. Sorry for cursing. Bleep that. Toronto 3-0. That's my prediction. Icon, who you got?
Yeah, I was on London's bandwagon there for a little bit. They made the roster moves. They played Dallas really tight, and then they kind of got smoked by Florida. But again, you don't know which Florida you're going to get. Whereas Toronto, as of late, very similarly, did lose to Florida, but bounced back and got a very impressive 3-0 over Dallas. So I don't know. London, to me, is one of the more interesting squads in the CDL right now. Like, every time they play, I'm like, are they going to take another step forward? Like, are we going to start to consider them like in the middle of the pack, or are they not quite there yet? Like, what's going on with them? I don't think it'll be enough here. I'll say 3-1 Toronto, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by what London's been doing as of late and where they'll be throughout the next stage or so.
This will probably cause me problems because it may not go this way, but I think giving them a map is very generous of us. I just think Ultra are the better team right now. Like, again, it's Ultra has the ice. They fell to a very good Florida team. They're still one of the best teams in the league. They still have the fundamentals down. They're still disgusting. They're still hard to stop. They're a tough matchup for any team. Everybody says it. And I'm going to give them a 3-1. I'm going to be nice. 3-1 Toronto.
Nice, man. Chicago Optic. Wow, I never say it like that. Optic Chicago versus Paris Legion. Also did find out that Legion is not at all French. And I was just, the last episode, I was trying to understand where Legion came from, but it's really just Legion.
Way to do your
hello.
research.
Hey, that's what I'm here for, baby. I'm a well-researched podcast host. It's not Legion. I don't know what that means in French. I'm sorry if I'm cursing. Icon, why don't you? I'm trying to differentiate who goes first, who picks first and last on these predictions. So I'm sorry if it seems kind of messy, but just try not to get my homework stolen because I'm a genius. I'm just kidding. But Icon, who you got first? Chicago versus Paris. Who you picking?
Yeah, see, in this one, I was hoping this is one where my homework wouldn't get stolen, but it's going to get stolen. So, you know, sometimes that's just what happens. But we look at this one. I think that Optic is obviously going to bounce back from that matchup against Atlanta. It's Atlanta. You really can't put too much weight into any of those. But other than that match against Atlanta, Optic has been looking pretty strong, except for where they did get eliminated in that Map 5 Round 11 from the last major by Toronto. But even with all that in mind, I just think Paris is really good at SND right now. If you look at their last matchups, they won the SND, the only map against Minnesota, won the SND against Atlanta, won the SND, the only map against London. It seems like every single match that they play, they lose 1-3 and they win the S&D. So I'm just going to continue along those lines. I think it's going to be a 3-1 Chicago win with Paris winning the S&D.
Kingdom, who you got?
Optic. 3-0.
Yeah, me and Kingdom on the same page today. I think a 3-0 as well. I do think Paris, they have looked better. I know we're savage out here today, but I do think Paris has looked a lot better. They have improved. The Surge is looking nice, but man, a pissed off Formal after that performance that he gave versus FaZe, we all know that's not Formal. We are not going to see that Formal again here in that match, and I think they're just... They're ready to roll into this match and get a big win. All right, speaking of big wins, knock on wood. All right, Minnesota RØKKR versus Seattle Surge. Sorry, I'm just messing up everybody's teammates now. But yeah, so Minnesota RØKKR versus Seattle Surge. Man, I really think the guys, they just got to come out with the heat. I mean, I know we already kind of had a whole long segment about this match, so I won't go too far into it. But I do think that, you know, RØKKR has still been working a lot on the respawns, making sure those are solidified. I think we're either the number 12th or 11th ranked hardpoint team in the league, and that just is not going to fly anymore, man. We've got to come out. We've got to keep trying to win these hardpoints and put ourselves up in this series. I do, you know, surprised last week at how the Search and Destroy looked with MajorManiak, wondering if that'll improve. I think Seattle Surge, like, after their match today versus FaZe, like, yeah, they got 3-0'd, but I wasn't able to watch. But spark notes from you guys, you said they played really close, really well. That's scary, man. But I don't know. I still got RØKKR 3-1. I think the boys will be able to take the respawns. Knock on wood, no jinx. Hopefully they're able to do that, because that would put us in a really good position to try to make upper bracket for LAN. So, Kingdom, you next. RØKKR versus Surge. Who you got?
RØKKR 3-2. I think they're gonna handedly win the maps they win, but the Surge they're in a groove. They're just not gonna make champs. I mean, it's unfortunate. Like, they may be able to make a splash at the major on LAN and win right now? Couple to be sold. I mean, honestly, like, they're playing for this is Gunless, this is Octane, this is Pristini. These guys are not like they're not. They're going to be in the league next year, but they probably won't be playing for this team. I mean, I would think so. Octane and Gunless should be in the league. If they're not next, I mean, I guess, you know, Slasher's not playing right now, and Hook's not playing right now, and
Stuff's crazy
Methods
right now.
isn't playing right now. But hey, whatever. But I do think that Accuracy isn't playing. But I do think that I just think the RØKKR are the better team. Like I said, I just think that the Surge might take the control and hopefully not that first hard point. Like, I really think it'll get in the RØKKR's head, like, at this point, like, losing that first map because of their lack of success in hardpoint, and everybody saying they need to get better at hardpoint. Eventually, like, you start to internalize that, and so I think the RØKKR need to come out hot, win the search, maybe lose the control in the second hardpoint, win in 5, or hopefully just do a 3-1. But I'm going to say 3-2.
Shoo. This one is tough because, again, I kind of just always go, whenever I think of teams and matchups, I think of, like, what's the route, what's the path, what does the series look like? And right now, Seattle, even though their record over the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 matches, whatever, isn't showing it, they look like if they just get a little bit more from Classic or their SMGs, like, they're going to be right there. And with how tight they've been playing their S&D maps, I don't know, stylistically, we haven't been playing S&D very well, and they are. So to me, it seems like if I'm thinking how this match is going to play out, I think you have to win the map 1. If you don't win the map 1, I don't know what the S&D result looks like. And then now all of a sudden you're down 0-2, you have to reverse sweep, which I think is possible. But then again, it leads into that map 5, which is another S&D where Minnesota hasn't looked great as of late, and Seattle has. So just for mojo, because I want to see Minnesota start in the winner's bracket, I'm going to say Minnesota 3-1. I think if it goes to map 5, I think that could be really tough. So I'm just going to, you know what, not even think about it and say it's not even going to go to map 5. I'll say that we lose map 2, but win all of the respawns to win 3-1.
It's sad that your summary of Surge is what we've been saying for 3 months.
I know, right?
They look
That's
so
why I
good.
said in the chat, I was like,
they're like
You're
one
being
adjustment
generous.
away.
Yeah, Icon's being nice. He's like, the last 7 matches. I'm like, no, you mean the
21.
season? Yeah.
I got nervous when he like started to sound unsure that he's gonna try to pull another
yeah.
upset just so he could really extend his prediction points lead. That would be buck wild. Come on, Icon, you know you want to do that. Come on now. Just kidding.
I'm scared.
Hey, we'll be so if you guys don't know, we're gonna be co-streaming this on Saturday. The match is at 5 p.m. Icon and I will be, speaking between the maps, breaking it all down, having a good time. So yeah, you'll get to see firsthand our reaction to if our predictions are incredibly right and amazing, or if we are so wrong, which hopefully we're not. Okay, so going into the final day here, I feel like these matches are a little bit easier to predict. Maybe that's just me. We got Florida Mutineers versus La Grelas. Sorry, I'm just saying names dumb right now. I'm just having fun with it. Florida Mutineers, home series, their weekend, right? They're going to play on Sunday. They're playing versus Gorillas. Gorillas is another team, man. I feel like they've been pretty close, so close most of the year to just kind of developing to the next level. Cheen, was awesome when he got brought on, but it just feels like they haven't been able to progress. And now with how hot Florida's looking, I just don't know that Gorillas can take them. And since I did predict that Subliners would beat Florida, I think they're going to be fired up. They're not going to go 0-2 with their home series. Are you kidding? Big Wake's about to come out and shoot nukes, man. I think Florida's going to end up taking Gorillas 3-1. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I'll go real quick. Hot 3-0. Florida wins 3-0. I just don't think LAG has it right now. And for us, that's good because we just keep widening that gap between 7th and 9th in the standings. So just keep getting a little bit further and further away. And now all of a sudden, heck, Minnesota could even think about going up into that 6th spot if they get on a little bit of a streak here throughout stage 4 and stage 5. But I don't know. I don't have any confidence right now in LAG, and I think Florida is scary nasty. So I'm just going to go hot 3-0.
I mean, good point, Icon. I didn't think about it, but with the way Florida's playing right now, Minnesota and Florida could both pass the Thieves and be in 6th and 7th rather than 7th and 8th. It's definitely possible, which would be great for Minnesota to be ranked 6th. But I think if the Gorillas lose this, which they are 3-1, that's my guess or prediction. If they lose, I think the gap becomes 150 to 90. So then it puts them in a really tough position to try to take 8th, because it's them in Florida. It's 8th and 9th, and so Florida winning this match and putting the Gorillas down to 0-3 in the stage, it's just not going to be promising because they're going to start in the first round of losers. And good luck, trying to get enough points to overtake Florida, who's looking good and is going to start in winner's bracket. If they win this match, they'll be 3-0. They could basically lose 2 more and still be in the winner's bracket. And so they're already starting with points when the Gorillas are going to start the major without points, and it's on land. And who knows who the Gorillas play in that first losers round, but it's going to be somebody else that is going to want to be past them that shouldn't be in losers, because that's what happens a lot. And so it's going to be tough. I think the Gorillas have the best chance of the bottom 4 teams to get into the top 8. They have to start winning, and Sunday's not going to be the day. So I'll say Florida 3-1.
Ah, man, it's sad. I love the Gorillas dudes. I love Cheen. I love Vasily, Assault. Yes, Apathy.
Oh, can I tell a joke?
Good. Absolutely. That's why we're here.
We were watching the Gorillas match. I went and picked up my son, and we were in the car, and I had it on my phone playing while I was driving because I didn't get to see the end of it. And he was like, why don't they just say lag? I was like, because that doesn't sound very good. And then he goes, he saw the players sitting next to each other. This is such a corny joke. And he said they should have the person he said Silly should change his name to Rifle. And I was like, why? Because he's sitting next to Assault. It's like,
you never. Hey, that's him. Let's go. Hey, I'm sure you got at least a giggle out of the crowd. You got a giggle out of me. That was awesome.
I laughed. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Rifle. Lag is such an interesting abbreviation for a first-person shooter team. Lag. Especially when you have to play online. Anyway, sorry. Atlanta FaZe versus LA Thieves. Man, I'll respect 100 Thieves, but FaZe 3-0. I think just they're going to start to hit their form towards the end of the year. We saw it at the beginning of the year. They don't have much to play for right now, even in terms of like seeding and trying to make sure that they're obviously having the best seed for champs. I think that's still important, and they could still lose that, but they don't have a ton to play for. But still, it's getting to be that time towards the end of the year. LAN is coming up. I think FaZe is trying to lock in, and yeah, LA Thieves is going to be trying their hearts out right now because they need these wins, but I think FaZe is going to be too much 3-0 in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of confidence right now in LA Thieves either. And I just think that Atlanta has, as we kind of all expected, just come back to the form that they were in at the beginning of the year. I think with Toronto cooling off a little bit and there's some kind of inconsistencies there from New York, I just feel like they're sitting atop the power rankings and the standings and everything by themselves as they were before. And the only time that we've really seen LA Thieves, I know if you look at like group standings right now, they're 1-0, they're second in Group A, but that win was in Map 5 against Seattle. So I'm interested to see how they play against Optic. How do they play against Minnesota, right? Because that will really determine who ends up getting that third spot in winners. So I'll give them a map. I'll go 3-1 Atlanta in that one.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same 3-1. It's interesting. FaZe could probably lose every match left in the year and still be the first ranked team in the CDL. They're 120 points ahead, and I think the most New York can get is like 150 or something like that. So it's we're getting to closing time for the season. LA Thieves need to continue to come out. They got to figure out a way to beat some of these teams that are all of the teams above them. I think they'd have a chance against Chicago, but in Dallas. But the top three, like FaZe, the Subliners, and Ultra, I think they would really struggle against, and so I think they're going to 3-1 this. They'll put up an effort, but I think they're going to lose 3-1.
I agree, except for 3-0. Lovely, guys. We got the last match here. New York Subliners versus Dallas Empire. We talked about this, earlier. Is Dallas like the real deal? Are they coming back to life here a little bit because they've had a really rough go? They've been down pretty bad, but they came out. They did the thing versus Gorillas. They are maybe going to be on the upswing. Is this like where we really get to see like is this the benchmark test for Dallas to kind of see are they now back, or are they still on the struggle city population empire? Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about, but either way, like, this is a huge benchmark match for me. New York Subliners versus Dallas Empire. I'm not gonna predict first, but I think I know who's gonna win.
I'll go first.
You go first? All right.
Yeah, I'll go first. I think that on the surface, like I think we touched on it a little bit earlier. I think on the surface, that 3-0 victory over LAG looks like, okay, kind of impressive, but it was Shotzi that went absolutely bananas, and everybody else kind of just played okay. Like nobody else dropped like a 1.4 or a 1.3 or anything like that. It was Shotzi with a 1.8 and then everybody else right around even. So I'm not sure that's going to get it done against New York, especially when you have Hydra, who's going to be countering a lot of what Shotzi's trying to do. I think overall right now, New York is still the better squad. I don't even know. I'll give the S&D to Dallas. I'll say New York wins all the respawns to win 3-1.
So, and maybe these are adjusted KDs, but these are the KDs that I saw for the match, and you might have seen it after, maybe you saw the second map totals, Icon, but it says 1.74 for Shotzi, 1.11 for Illy, 1.18 for Krim, and a 0.87 for Vivid. Krim also did well. He was their best player in the last series when they got 3-0'd. I think that I think they may have figured out a way to get things back to where they were, which is where Krim can do his job and consistently. You can't have your AR going negative and win. That's just it's very difficult in this league. But I think if Krim can continue to drop a 1 point anything, and Shotzi can go off, I think it's a combination. And Vivid just he's playing that role where he's kind of an entry sub. But if your entry sub is Vivid and your person behind him is Shotzi, that's like a BZ and Simp type stuff. It's scary, And so, I mean, but that's where Neptune can get to if he continues to learn the game, and so that's why I'm scared about Florida into the season. They're going to be really good. I have confidence in Dallas. It sucks because this isn't an upset, like I wish that it was, but it's not an upset for me to call this for Dallas because these two teams are literally tied at 250 points. I do think it's going to be a grudge match. I think it's going to go to map 5, and I'm going to actually call it for Dallas. It'll be a match 5 express, and Dallas will win it.
Wow, he's even got that's got to be some kind of extra points if it's the map correct as well, Shannon. We gotta start. I mean, no, we're just.
I'm in last. Come on, give me love. Give me love.
You think it's they rank so closely. I do agree it would be.
Oh wait, is Asim not? Is he still gone? I forgot about that.
Oh wait, yeah. No,
I forgot. Asim got stuck in Canada or somewhere where he couldn't get back into the States.
Can he still play though?
I thought he wasn't playing this weekend, maybe, and someone cut his internet line. That sucks.
That was Clay. That was Clay's internet.
I thought he was. I thought maybe Asim potentially might not be able to play this.
Nah, Asim can play from Canada. I mean, he did last year. I don't know his situation. I shouldn't speak.
Okay, so the server might be impacted though, like ping or something.
He has played from Canada before.
Okay, so, well, if he's playing,
I don't know if
it's
this year, but last year he did.
Okay.
That's a good point, though. I mean, yeah, if Asim's not in the lineup, that could change a lot. But for me, looking at New York Subliners here versus Dallas Empire, I don't know. It's going to be a close one. I think it's good. This will be a test for Dallas Empire. This will be where we find out, like, are they back? What's that Star Wars movie called? I'm sorry, I'm not a big
Empire
Star Wars
Strikes Back?
Empire, yeah. Is Empire going to strike back?
Oh,
we don't know. We'll see.
Hashtag.
We'll see. Dude, this is an icon. It's kind of lost its juice from the beginning of the year, and so much has happened. But still, I love a Clay versus Crim battle, old team versus new team. Clay's going to come out with the fire. I'm going to go with Subliners 3-2. I do think it's going to be a barn burner. It's going to be close. It's going to be a lot of slugging back and forth. But I really think that New York will edge it out. But I'm just. No, even if I'm right, wrong, whatever, I'm just so excited to see this matchup. It's probably the matchup I'm excited for the most this weekend, other than the RØKKR match, of course, which will be live on the Minnesota RØKKR YouTube. Check out our co-stream. The match is going to be at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, or just after the match before it, which is, flip back, which is the map before us again? The match? We play after Optic versus Paris on Saturday at allegedly 5 p.m. Central, but sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's complicated. Anyway, just follow our Twitter. You'll see when we're tweeting about the co-stream and what we're going live. You guys can watch the entire match here, and you'll get, kind of a little bit of breakdown from IKON and myself. Between maps and Kingdom, we would love to have you on. Maybe we could do a special co-stream. Yeah, you gotta make an appearance. I know your schedule's wild and
it's just I have my kids on the weekend, so I'm distracted.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Definitely understand that. But there will be a time we'll have to have you on. It'll be a good time. But anyway, that's gonna do it for us, man. Love the episode. Great chatting with you guys. And the chat was honestly pretty lit tonight. There's a lot of people coming in, dropping their opinions, their predictions. Love to see you guys keeping the conversation going. And I just really appreciate you guys watching. We will be back on Saturday at 5 p.m. Central-ish after the Optic match, live on the YouTube to show the match and talk it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to catch up and win in all my predictions. Let's freaking go, baby. Okay, I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for joining me, IKON and Kingdom as usual, and we'll catch you guys later.